Let me say something to you today that nobody in your life has had the courage to say to your face. You are a slave, not to a government, not to a corporation, not to a system that was designed to oppress you. No, no, no. Those are easy enemies. Those are convenient excuses. The slavery I am talking about today is far more dangerous, far more humiliating, and far more personal than any external chain ever forged by man. You are a slave to yourself. You are enslaved to your moods. You wake up in the morning and you ask your feelings whether you should get out of bed. And when your feelings say, not today, you obey them like a servant. You are enslaved to your hunger, not just for food, but for comfort, for validation, for the endless scroll of other people's lives on a glowing screen at 2 in the morning. You are enslaved to your laziness, to the gravitational pull of the couch, the familiar, the easy, the path of least resistance. And the most terrifying part, you don't even see the chains. You call it resting. You call it being kind to yourself. You call it going with the flow. But I am here today to rip that comfortable lie out of your hands and replace it with something that will change your life forever if you are brave enough to receive it. My name is not important. What I am about to deposit into your mind for the next 35 minutes, that is what is important. So, sit down, lean forward, turn off your notifications. Because what we are about to discuss is the single most powerful force available to every human being on this planet. Pause. It is called self-discipline. And by the time I am finished with you today, you will never look at your choices the same way again. Clear throat. I want you to do something right now. I want you to think about the last 7 days of your life. How many times did you intend to do something and didn't do it? How many times did you set an alarm and turned it off? How many times did you say, I'll start Monday, and Monday came and went like every other day? How many times did you plan to eat well, to exercise, to read, to build, to create, and instead you surrendered to whatever your body felt like doing in that moment? Write that number down in your mind. Keep it. Now I want to ask you a question, and I want you to answer it honestly. Not for me, but for yourself. If you cannot lead yourself, what gives you the right to lead anything else? Some of you want to lead companies. Some of you want to lead families. Some of you want to lead nations, movements, communities. Some of you want people to follow your vision, trust your judgment, submit to your authority. But you cannot wake up on time. You cannot put down the fork when your body has had enough. You cannot close the application on your phone when your mind has had enough. You cannot say no to the dessert, to the distraction, to the detour, and you want someone to call you a leader. Here is a principle that the greatest civilizations in human history understood and that modern culture has completely abandoned. The right to govern others is earned by first governing yourself. Every great empire, every great movement, every great institution that has ever stood the test of time was built on this foundation. The greatest commanders in military history were not the ones who could command armies first. They were the ones who first learned to command themselves. The greatest philosophers were not the ones who could argue the loudest. They were the ones who first mastered the discipline of thought. The greatest builders, artists, inventors, none of them achieved greatness through talent alone. They achieved it through the relentless, merciless, daily exercise of self-dominion. But today, we live in a culture that has declared war on discipline. We live in a world that tells you that your feelings are sacred, that your desires must be honored, that any discomfort is oppression, and that any boundary, especially one you place on yourself, is somehow a violation of your freedom. And so we have produced a generation of brilliant, talented, gifted, passionate human beings who are completely, totally, and devastatingly ineffective. Because they are slaves. Now, I am not here to condemn you. Condemnation is cheap. Anybody can point a finger. I am here to liberate you. But liberation requires that we first look at the prison honestly. We must name the bars before we can break them. The first bar is the tyranny of mood. Most human beings make their most important decisions based on how they feel in a given moment. They feel motivated, they work. They feel uninspired, they don't. They feel confident, they move forward. They feel afraid, they retreat. They have handed the steering wheel of their destiny to an emotion that changes like the weather and has the lifespan of a morning cloud. The undisciplined person is a leaf in the wind. They go wherever the emotional current takes them. And at the end of their life, they look back and wonder why they never arrived anywhere meaningful, not realizing that the person who goes wherever the wind blows will never choose their own destination. The second bar is the tyranny of appetite. Now, when I say appetite, I do not merely mean food, though that is certainly part of it. I mean the appetite for comfort, the appetite for pleasure, the appetite for immediate gratification, the appetite for the reward before the work, the harvest before the planting, the respect before the sacrifice. Clear throat, the source, the intelligence that designed the human body and the natural world, built delay into the system on purpose. The seed does not become a tree overnight. The child does not become a leader in a moment. The muscle does not grow without resistance. Everything of value in the natural world is produced through a process that requires patience, pressure, and the willingness to be uncomfortable for an extended period of time. But the undisciplined person refuses the process. They want the result without the process. And so they remain permanently in the seed stage, full of potential, but buried, never becoming what they were designed to be. The third bar, and perhaps the most insidious, is the tyranny of opinion. Many people are not even pursuing their own desires. They are pursuing the approval of other people. They have never sat alone long enough to ask themselves what they truly want. Their entire lives are a performance staged for an audience that isn't even watching. And when they finally feel the itch to discipline themselves, to rise early, to sacrifice, to build something meaningful, they look around and notice that none of their friends are doing it. And so they stop. Because the undisciplined life is always the popular life. Mediocrity has excellent company. The path of least resistance is always crowded. But the path of mastery, that path is lonely. That path is quiet. That path is walked mostly in the dark, long before anyone is watching, long before anyone is applauding, long before the world ever knows your name. Now, I want to talk to those of you who are talented, because I have noticed something very dangerous about talented people. Talented people have a unique and particular vulnerability that ordinary people don't possess. And that vulnerability is this: talent creates the illusion that discipline is optional. When you are talented, things come to you more easily than they come to others. You pick up the instrument and music flows. You open your mouth and words organize themselves. You sit in front of the canvas and your hand seems to know what to do before your mind gives the instruction. And because it comes easily, because the early results arrive with minimal effort, you begin to believe a catastrophic lie, that the gift is enough. Let me tell you about the graveyard of genius. Throughout human history, this world has buried more potential than it has ever celebrated. The cemeteries of this planet are filled with people who carried magnificent gifts inside them and took every single one of those gifts to the grave, unused, undeveloped, and unexpressed. Not because they lacked talent, because they lacked discipline. Talent is a seed. Discipline is the soil, the water, the sunlight, and the gardener's hands. You can have the most extraordinary seed in the history of agriculture, but if you plant it in desert sand and walk away, it will die. It will die with all of its potential locked inside it. And the world will never know what it could have become. I want to give you the most important metaphor you will hear today. Are you listening? Discipline is the bridge between your goals and your accomplishments. Pause. Read that again, slowly in your mind. Let it settle. Your goal is on one side of the river. Your accomplishment is on the other side. The river is wide. The river is deep. The river is cold. And there are 1,000 people standing on this side of the river, looking across at what they want: their health, their family, their business, their purpose, their legacy. And they are looking at it. They are talking about it. They are visualizing it. They are making vision boards about it. But they will not build the bridge, because the bridge is built from the most unglamorous materials in the universe. It is built from early mornings when no one is watching. It is built from the meal you didn't eat, the entertainment you delayed, the sleep you sacrificed, the criticism you absorbed without retaliating, the temptation you looked in the eye and said, "Not today." Every single act of self-discipline is a plank in that bridge. And every act of self-indulgence, every time you surrender to your immediate impulse over your long-term purpose, you are removing a plank. The truly terrifying thing about undisciplined, talented people is that they can see the other side clearly. Their vision is magnificent. Their dreams are vivid. Their plans are detailed. But they will stand on that bank for 50 years, describing the other side to anyone who will listen, and the bridge will never be built. Now, contrast this with the disciplined person who has average talent. The disciplined person of average talent will outperform the gifted genius of zero discipline every single time, without exception. This is not philosophy. This is the documented, observable, repeatable pattern of human achievement across every field, every era, every culture. The tortoise does not beat the hare because the tortoise is faster. The tortoise beats the hare because the tortoise doesn't stop. Discipline is consistency. And consistency, relentless, unglamorous, unsexy, consistency is the single greatest predictor of human achievement in the history of civilization. So let me ask you again. You who have been blessed with gifts, with intelligence, with creativity, with vision, with charisma, what are you doing with it? Are you building the bridge? Day by day, plank by plank, sacrifice by sacrifice? Or are you standing on the bank, admiring the view, waiting for motivation to show up and carry you across? Motivation is a liar. Let me say that again so the back row can hear me. Motivation is a liar. Clear throat. Motivation is an emotion. And like all emotions, it comes and it goes. It visits you on Monday morning after an inspiring speech. It stays with you through Tuesday. By Wednesday, it has gone on vacation. By Thursday, you haven't heard from it in 2 days. By Friday, you're waiting by the phone. Discipline doesn't call ahead. Discipline doesn't need to be in the mood. Discipline shows up every morning like a professional, because professionals don't wait to feel like doing their job. They do their job because that is what it means to be a professional. The amateur waits for inspiration. The master shows up and creates it. Now I want to talk about something that very few teachers, very few coaches, very few motivational voices in this generation have had the intellectual courage to say out loud. The highest form of power available to a human being is not military power. It is not financial power. It is not political power. It is not social influence or technological capability or physical strength. The highest form of power in the universe is the power of self-mastery. The person who can say no to themselves, that person is the most powerful person in any room they walk into. Think about what it means to govern a nation. To govern a nation, you must be able to coordinate thousands of people, manage vast resources, withstand enormous pressures, make decisions under fire, delay gratification for the sake of long-term national interests. These are extraordinary demands. But, and hear me carefully, every single one of these demands is first practiced on yourself. Every leader who ever successfully governed others had first, in private, in the quiet laboratory of their own daily life, practiced governing themselves. So, the person who has mastered themselves walks differently. They speak differently. They make decisions differently. There is a quality about them that other people sense but cannot always name. A groundedness, a stillness, a certainty that does not come from arrogance, but from the deep, earned confidence of someone who knows that they are the master of their own house. They are not controlled by hunger, so food cannot be used to manipulate them. They are not controlled by the fear of missing out, so trends cannot seduce them. They are not controlled by the need for approval, so the crowd cannot redirect them. They are not controlled by comfort, so hardship cannot defeat them. Every potential slave master looks at this person and realizes there is nothing here to grab. There is no lever. There is no weakness I can exploit. This person has already done the work that makes them ungovernable from the outside because they have chosen to govern themselves from the inside. That is the Sigma King I want to talk to you about today. And I want to be very clear, this is not about gender. This is not a masculine or feminine concept. This is a human concept. The most powerful woman in any boardroom is the woman who has said no to her own fear so many times that fear has lost its authority over her. The most powerful man in any negotiation is the man who wants to deal so badly he could taste it and doesn't let the other side see it. Because he has practiced the concealment of desire through decades of disciplining himself. Self-mastery is the ultimate negotiating position. Because when you have nothing to lose, when you have no addiction to comfort, no dependence on approval, no enslavement to pleasure, then you are free. Genuinely, structurally, practically free in a way that no legislation and no financial account balance can ever fully provide. The Stoic philosophers understood this 2,000 years ago. The great thinkers of the Eastern traditions understood this 3,000 years ago. The indigenous wisdom keepers understood this long before that. Across every culture, across every era, The message has been consistent. The person who conquers themselves has conquered the greatest enemy. Now, how does one build this power? How does one become the master of their own house? It begins with small refusals. Clear throat. I want you to hear this carefully. The mastery of self is not built in grand, dramatic moments of heroic sacrifice. It is built in the 10,000 tiny, invisible moments that nobody ever witnesses or applauds. It is built in the moment you reach for the phone and don't pick it up. It is built in the moment you want to lash out in anger and you breathe instead. It is built in the moment the alarm goes off and your body screams for 5 more minutes and you throw back the covers anyway. It is built in the moment the dessert arrives at the table and you simply, quietly, without drama, say no. Each one of these moments is a vote. Every time you do what you said you would do, you cast a vote for the version of yourself that can be trusted. And every time you betray your own commitment, however small, however private, however unwitnessed, you cast a vote for the version of yourself that cannot. And here is the devastating truth about self-betrayal. It compounds. Every time you break a promise to yourself, the next promise becomes easier to break. The internal authority, the voice inside you that says, we are going to do this, loses credibility every time it says something and the body does something different. And eventually, if you're not careful, you reach a place where you don't even believe your own commitments anymore. Where you make a plan on Sunday night, and somewhere in the back of your mind, you already know you're not going to follow through. That is a catastrophic place to be. Because when you cannot trust yourself, when your word to yourself means nothing, then you have truly lost everything that matters. But here is the magnificent truth on the other side of that coin. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you build authority, internal authority. The voice inside you gets louder and stronger and more credible with every kept commitment. And you begin to develop what I call self-trust. The deep, bone-level certainty that when you say you are going to do something, you will do it. That is the foundation of all great human achievement. Not talent, not genius, not luck or timing or connection. Self-trust. Built one, kept promise at a time. Now, I must speak to you about something that makes me genuinely grieve. Because I have lived long enough on this earth to watch what happens to human beings who choose comfort over discipline. I have watched brilliant people shrink. I have watched gifted individuals quietly surrender. I have watched people who had everything they needed to build extraordinary lives choose, year by year, decision by decision, the slightly more comfortable path. And I have watched the compound interest of that choice devastate them. Let me tell you the great deception of the comfort lifestyle. Comfort presents itself as kindness. Comfort says you deserve rest. Comfort says you've worked hard enough. Comfort says, you're being too hard on yourself. Comfort says, one more episode won't hurt. Comfort says, start tomorrow, start Monday. Start in January. Start when the kids are older. Start when the market is better. Start when you feel ready. No, and it feels kind. It feels compassionate. It feels like self-care. But I want to tell you what comfort is actually doing to you while it is making those warm, gentle promises. Comfort is a slow poison. Every day that you choose comfort over discipline, every day that you choose the path of least resistance, you are not standing still. You are going backward. Because life is not a static system. The world does not pause while you rest. Markets move. Opportunities close. Skills atrophy. Relationships require investment. Bodies require maintenance. Minds require sharpening. And every day that you are not actively investing, you are passively withdrawing. The person who chooses comfort every day for 10 years does not end up where they started. They end up significantly behind where they started. Their skills have rusted. Their confidence has eroded. Their network has dried up. Their body has weakened. Their mind has grown slow. And now the gap between where they are and where they want to be is not a river, it is an ocean. Here is the principle I need you to write on the wall of your mind in permanent ink. If you do not discipline your life, life will discipline you. And life is a far harsher teacher than you will ever be to yourself. The discipline you refuse to impose on yourself today will be imposed on you tomorrow through illness, through financial collapse, through broken relationships, through the searing, incurable regret of a life half-lived. The body that you refuse to discipline with nutrition and exercise will eventually discipline you with disease and limitation. The finances you refuse to discipline with saving and investment will eventually discipline you with desperation and dependency. The mind you refuse to discipline with study and reflection will eventually discipline you with confusion and irrelevance. The relationships you refuse to discipline with commitment and sacrifice will eventually discipline you with loneliness. Life always gets the last word. And the price that life charges for the luxury of unlimited comfort today is paid in concentrated suffering tomorrow, with interest at a rate you did not agree to and cannot negotiate. The comfortable life is not free. It is the most expensive lifestyle in the universe because it charges you on the back end when you are least equipped to pay. I want to speak to you now about a phenomenon I call the someday funeral. There is a dream inside you. I know there is. You came into this world with a specific design, a specific capacity, a specific purpose that is unlike anyone else's on this planet. The source of all creation does not produce duplicates. You are an original, and that original carries within it an original mission. But there is a word that is burying that mission alive. That word is someday. Someday I'll write the book. Someday I'll start the business. Someday I'll have that difficult conversation. Someday I'll get in shape. Someday I'll pursue what I was actually made to do. Someday I'll become the person I know I'm capable of being. Someday is not a day of the week. Someday is a graveyard. And every dream you have assigned to someday is buried there. Cold, quiet, waiting. And here is what nobody tells you about the someday graveyard. The dreams don't die quickly. They die slowly. They suffocate slowly over years and decades as the sediment of unchosen discipline piles up on top of them. And you can feel it happening deep in your chest, underneath the comfort and the distraction and the busyness. You can feel the thing inside you that was supposed to become something, slowly going quiet. That feeling has a name. It is called regret. And I am going to tell you something about regret that the motivational industry does not like to discuss because it is not comfortable. And the motivational industry, ironically, is itself addicted to comfort. Regret is the heaviest thing a human being can carry, not failure. Failure is light. Failure can be recovered from. Failure teaches, redirects, refines, and ultimately strengthens. The person who has failed greatly has at least tried greatly. And there is dignity in the trying. But regret, the regret of the thing never attempted, the life never fully lived, the gift never deployed, the potential never expressed, that regret has no bottom. It sits on your chest at 3 a.m. and it does not lift. It follows you into old age with a question that has no answer. What could I have become if I had chosen discipline? I will not let that be your story. Not if you are watching this today. Not if you are still breathing. Not if there is still time, and there is still time. But time is not unlimited, and tomorrow is not guaranteed. And the version of you that is capable of building the bridge, that version is not a permanent offer. Your energy is finite. Your body is temporary. Your window of maximum capacity is specific. The world will not wait indefinitely for you to decide to take yourself seriously. So what do? How do you break the chains? How do you walk out of the comfortable prison? You start with one decision, not a lifestyle overhaul, not a complete personality reconstruction, not a 15-point self-improvement program that requires 17 apps and a life coach. One decision today, this hour, this moment. You choose one thing that you have been refusing to do, and you do it without negotiation, without waiting for the right feeling, without consulting your moods or your appetite or your comfort level. You just do it. And then tomorrow you do it again. And the day after that. And the day after that. And somewhere between the 14th and the 21st repetition, something extraordinary begins to happen. The choice becomes easier, not because the discipline has become less demanding, but because you have become stronger. Because the muscle of self-mastery, like every other muscle in the human body, responds to exercise with growth. And what was agony at the beginning becomes effort in the middle. And eventually becomes character. And character, my friend, is destiny. You are not your history. You are not your background. You are not your failures or your fears or the limitations that other people projected onto you. You are your choices. Every choice you make is a declaration about who you are and what you believe you deserve. Every act of self-discipline is a statement that you believe your future is worth protecting. Every refusal of the comfortable shortcut is an investment in the person you are in the process of becoming. The Creator, the intelligence that designed every molecule of your being, did not construct you for a life of passive consumption and comfortable mediocrity. You were engineered for greatness, not the kind of greatness that trends on social media for 48 hours, the kind of greatness that leaves the world different after you pass through it. But that greatness has a price. And that price is paid daily in the currency of self-discipline. So let me close today with a charge. From this moment forward, I do not care what has happened before this moment. From this moment forward, choose to govern yourself. Choose to be the master of your moods, the ruler of your appetites, the commander of your time, the architect of your habits. Say no to the thing that is calling you backward. Say yes to the thing that is calling you forward, even when it costs you comfort, popularity, immediate pleasure. Build the bridge, one plank at a time, one day at a time, one refused temptation at a time. Become the person about whom it is said they could not be bought because they had already purchased themselves. The world is waiting for people who are governed from the inside. The world is desperate for human beings who have done the private, unglamorous, extraordinary work of mastering themselves. Be that person, not someday, today. If this message reached you today, do not let it leave without leaving a mark. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Not because I need the numbers, but because somebody in your life is still a slave and they don't know it yet. And you might be the messenger they have been waiting for. The discipline you exercise today is the freedom you will live tomorrow. Go and govern yourself.